How many hours are in a day when you don't spend half of them watching television? When is the last time any of us really worked to get something that we wanted? How long has it been since any of us really needed something that we wanted? The world we knew is gone. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Jose here, welcoming you to another episode of Amazing Worlds, where today I am going to be talking about The Walking Dead by Tony Moore, Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlard, which I finally managed to get my mother-in-law to ship it back from London, the last couple of issues that I had left to read, and in all its trade paperback glory, here is the full collection of The Walking Dead. All 32 volumes collected and read over the years. This is incredible. I mean, this series started back in 2003 and it's been super consistent, month in, month out, new issue every month, and it's stayed highly consistent, and now it came out as a bit of a shock. It finished last year, 2019, all of a sudden, issue 193, bam, gone, Walking Dead, finished, caught everyone by surprise. I don't know, I was wondering myself when the heck it was going to finish. I had an opportunity to meet the penciler, Charlie Adlard, at a Comic-Con, asked him, because by volume 20 or whatever, I was thinking, where is this going? And he kept his stump, he wouldn't say anything, of course. Anyway, done. So, what have we got in here? Oh God, I need to put this away. So, in case you didn't know, The Walking Dead is the brainchild of writer Robert Kirkman and artist Charlie Adlard, although Charlie Adlard wasn't the original artist for the series. The first 6 issues, collected, each trade paperback collects 6 issues. The first 6 issues were drawn by Tony Moore, but Tony Moore couldn't really quite keep with the deadlines. He wasn't keen on working on just one project, and apparently Robert Kirkman directly sought out Charlie Adlard to do the art. That created a bit of friction with Tony Moore. Apparently things didn't end so well between the two of them. And Charlie Adlard, ever since issue 6 to 193, been the main penciler, really consistent. Now, it is a very classic sort of zombie tale where we don't know what caused the zombies to appear. When people die, they come back as zombies. We don't know. It's just one of those things. Apparently, Robert Kirkman wanted the comic book to be some sort of continuation of Night of the Living Dead type thing. And so we follow a group of survivors of this Holocaust. And I'm sure people, if you haven't read the comics, you're very familiar with the TV show, where we follow Rick Grimes, who is a sheriff in a small town in the US, and his family through a series of adventures. The beginning of the comic book, it's totally directly is a rip-off from the movie 28 Days Later, or the movie beginning of 28 Days Later is a complete rip-off from The Walking Dead. Who knows? There's a bit of arguing there who copied who, but is that scene where Rick wakes up in a hospital alone, the town is deserted, he's on his own, finds out zombies have overrun the country, goes to find his family. The series is not about what caused this zombie holocaust, how to find the cure. That's not the point of the story, which I found a bit irritating, because typically these things, like, you want to find out why, but I suppose that's just the MacGuffin to get the story and the action going. And the real story behind The Walking Dead is how people would respond and behave in that sort of set of extreme circumstances, which I suppose you could say you could parallel to our current situation, isn't it? and different people behave and react in different ways. Not to the extremes in here, obviously, but so we follow Rick and his family and groups of friends, and some people really, they fall prey to the zombies. Some people kind of deal with the situation. Some people can cope with the situation and they commit suicide. Some people fight and try to recreate the world as they knew it. Some people turn into cannibals and survive at all costs, no matter what, where all sense of morality is lost or is perverted or is twisted. Throughout the series, the real antagonist, the real horror comes from what some humans would do to other humans, not from the zombies. And in actual fact, as you progress down the series, the zombies stop being a threat and they almost at times become a tool. They are used for certain ends and they can be manipulated. And as the survivors become more familiar, they get to find out more how these zombies behave and what they respond to, the zombies become something in the background, and the real story is in the relationship between the main characters of the story, which is great. So if you like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Some people are fans of the show, of the TV show, but they would never be reading a comic book. I don't know. There's something wrong with you, because I don't want this to turn into a comparison between the TV show and the comic. I just want to talk about the comic, but the comic can get away with a degree of violence that the TV show cannot. Okay, so the comic can be very graphic, very violent. Horrible stuff happens to main characters, and sometimes those main characters take out their revenge in an equally gruesome, horrible way, or even 2 steps beyond. And you know what? You feel good about that. Yeah, you deserve that, you piece of monkey. The path of our survivors. At first they are on the road. They're trying to seek refuge. So we follow them, and there are different sort of main story arcs through the series. So first we see them on the road. Eventually they find a place to settle, but this place where they settle, they meet one of the main antagonists, one of the great antagonists in the series, the governor. And once they overcome that problem and that situation, then we get an even worse. If you thought the governor was bad, wait till you meet Negan, one of the great antagonists in the whole of comic book history, I would say. And once you overcome Negan, or wait until you meet the Whisperers, and this real journey as well, because the way in which the characters deal with the conflict, at first they are reluctant to engage in violence, then violence becomes the only way in which they can actually resolve the conflict with the different antagonists they meet, until you get to the final story arc of the series, where actually they are seeking to avoid violent confrontation and try to deal with the situation in a different manner. They've recovered their morality, so to speak, a little bit. The thing about Rick Grimes is the main character. He's our supposed hero, and I say supposed hero because in the books, in the comics, he's celebrated. I don't want to give any spoilers away. I don't want to say how it ends, but he's celebrated as the person that led humanity back to. And at times, I found that it was a very thin line between Rick's attitude and some of the antagonists. He just goes about it in a slightly different way, but he can be as much of a bully as some of the antagonists. He just so happens to be more charismatic. People end up truly believing in his way, and he gains the trust and the confidence of the people that follow him. But he, to my mind, he wasn't really that different from some of the antagonists. But maybe that's just my perception. I don't know. Let me know if you think I got this wrong. Let me know if you think I missed the point. Another thing that I found great about The Walking Dead, if you are into that sort of thing, I don't want to make too big a deal about it, but is the diversity, is the diverse cast of characters, and how well it is done, and how this is diversity without it being in your face, without it being wrapped up your nose, without bigging someone up by demeaning other people. No, this is diversity really well done. You've got Asian characters, you've got black characters, you've got homosexual characters, you've got strong female characters, you've got strong male characters, you've got weak male characters, you've got weak. It is really well done because there's no agenda, because there is no intention to further any political issue or propaganda or ideology. It's just a very well done, diverse representation of what society possibly is in the United States, isn't it? It's a fairly mixed society there. So, Mexican people, and some are good, some are bad. I think it's very well done. If you want an example of how to do diversity well, look no further than The Walking Dead. Now, talking about the art, I think, and I think some other people think, but anyway, my opinion is the one that matters here. Some people think that the art by Tony Moore in the first 6 issues was superior, he was the better artist to Charlie Adlard. And I would agree with that, but somehow I think that the Charlie Adlard style suited the series a lot better. I don't know, it just captured the mood of the story better. Now, it's just black and white, sort of pencil inking with shades of grey. And the only one thing I don't quite like, I suppose, I've got some reservations about the artwork, is the shading. I've looked online, I've tried to see if I'm right here or not, but I couldn't find any confirmation. I think the grayscale shading is done on the computer. I think it's all digital, the way the colors come out. And it gives the story a sense of, feels a little bit artificial. I feel sterile. And the reason I got that impression is because in the past I've written stories, I've written comics, I got someone to illustrate one of my stories, and I know they did it on the computer. They did the penciling on paper, but then the inking and the tonal grey shading, they did it on the computer. And the artwork that this person came up with looks an awful lot like the artwork you get in The Walking Dead. So I'm 99% sure that the shading, inking is done on the computer. And it detracts a little bit. It looks almost too clean at times. But, the very clear lines in the drawing, the gray scales they're okay, but the very sparse backgrounds, and I suppose for Charlie Adlard to keep up with the pace and bring out issue after issue on time every month, he just had to concentrate on the main action of each panel and not embellish it too much. So I think the artwork is correct. I don't know if I think color wouldn't have gone amiss here. I think you could have gone for some, fairly dark palette of colors here, and it wouldn't have detracted at all from the story. The good thing, what is unprecedented is actually the same artist drawing 187 issues consistently. What's the guy going to do for a living from now on? I don't know. But it is very consistent artwork. It makes it, you know who the characters are. straight away. I've got other comic series where when you get a change of artist, it's very noticeable, and that's not so great. But here you don't have that problem at all. The only thing is that there's a time gap, there's a time jump, and it is a little bit difficult to recognize some of those characters because of the time change. But I can't imagine reading something like this on a month-by-month basis. I mean, I don't know, it's been going on for over 50, can you imagine, over 15 years, month by month, getting just one little story. I mean, I think, stories like this, comics like this, are meant to be consumed in the trade paperback format. I mean, you've got the omnibus editions, they're huge chunks, pretty heavy. You could probably bash someone's skull in with one of those, but the trade paperbacks are fine. They're the right size to sit down one afternoon and read a chunk of the story. Now, would I recommend The Walking Dead? Would I say, yeah, go away and read it? I think, I suppose it's only natural with a story this long, you've got ups and downs. But I think those ups and downs are less pronounced than in the TV show, and the pace of the story just moves along fairly quickly throughout. There aren't very many moments of plot advancement. The battles are epic. The stakes are always high. Game of Thrones style thing. No one has got plot armor. Anyone could be killed, murdered, backstabbed at any point in time. So that does keep you quite invested, quite engaged. It can make you rage, I suppose, if you're that way inclined. But it's a long, long story. You've seen it. It's those 32 books. If you're going to think of, reading it, you're in for the ride. But I suppose that each volume reads quite quickly. You could sit down and knock it out in one sitting quite easily. It's a bit of an investment, I suppose, but it's very enjoyable. If you like that kind of zombie apocalypse, this is exceptionally well done, and it's got nothing to be ashamed of, and it's lacking nothing relative to those classic George Romero zombie movies. So if you like that sort of thing, go for it. But I suppose I would say if you're new to comics or you're a bit uncertain about the genre, you're probably better off picking up something else to give you a feel for what zombie apocalypse can be, or that particular genre. And then if you really then like it, you think, yeah, I want to get into it, then go for it. I wouldn't recommend it perhaps as an entry point into comics. Like I personally was put off. At the first Comic-Con that I attended in London, Charlie Adlard was their top guy. I met him. He was kind enough to sign volume 2. I didn't think there was a point in taking volume 1 to him since he didn't draw it. But he's the kind of guy that will talk to you, will take photos with you, would really nice once you get there, horrendous when you're in the queue waiting for him. And I really hesitated getting into the series because at the time it was already up to volume 18 or something like that. I was like, oh my god, how am I gonna tackle this? But you just get on, like it, you just follow. You buy one volume every month, you'll be there in about 3 years' time. So there you have it. So that's it. That's what I've got from The Walking Dead. I've probably missed out a few things, but this is just a general overview. I've really enjoyed it, and I could probably see myself very easily in a few years' time revisiting the series. I think it's been a landmark in comics. I think if you have watched the TV show and the spin-offs, it reinforces my opinion that I think the better writers exist now in comics. Yeah, as usual, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Until next time, hope you're keeping safe. I hope you're keeping fine. Please take lots of care, and I'll see you then.